Next week, 4 of the 5 FAANG stocks are scheduled to report earnings, and they are Facebook, Apple, Amazon, and Google. In this video, we're going to analyze the FAANG stock and also see what the market is pricing in for those 4 FAANG stocks that are scheduled to report earnings next week. In this segment, we're going to take a look at the FAANG stock. The FAANG stock been pulling back in the last week or so. All of them, except Netflix, is scheduled to report earnings next week. Facebook will be on Wednesday, and Apple, Amazon, and Google will be on Thursday after the market close. Let's take a look at Facebook. The market is pricing in a plus or minus $16 or so for the earning move, which equivalent to somewhere around 7%. And that put the range near the 247 and 214 based on Friday's close of $230.82. So that's a pretty nice range here. You can see that the upper range is near this pivot high here, and this lower range is near this pivot here. So we could see that there could be potential support and resistance in those areas. But if we take a look at the price action, last week's price action, and looking at the support and resistance, essentially, after this all-time high a couple of weeks ago, Facebook been pulling back and put in a lower high, and right now it got a lower low here when we take a look at this low. So if it's going to continue to come down, we expect to see the first potential level of support on this trend line to see would it be able to find some support off the trend line and come back up above this $230 level, this composite point of control, and see would it be able to work itself up. And there is a declining trend line here. If we connect these two peaks, then there would be some sort of a potential resistance here up at the 240 level. So that's on the upside. And if we could break through that 240 and try to target this upper earning projected move, then that will be up at the 247. Now, on the downside, if it is unable to hold support on this trend line, then we expect it to come down and possibly find some sort of support, maybe a first level support at 221, and possibly come back and back test this trend line. Then it pushes back down. Then it might find some support here near the 214 level, and that is the lower price projected move on earning, and see would it be able to get some sort of bounce off of this level of 214. If it's not, then we're basically looking for it to continue to move down to about 207. So these price level is essentially a low volume, no price level. So we expect price either go to that level quickly or get rejected, essentially get a bounce off of that. And on Apple, we see Apple is the market is pricing in a plus or minus $19 or 5% move, and that put the upper target at 389 and the lower target at 351 based on Friday's close of 370.42. So you can see that Apple been breaking down this trend line. On Thursday, it broke down, and on Friday, it continued to move down until the almost near the close of the session. It come back up. So it did close near the high of the day, but nevertheless, it closed with a loss on Friday. So you can see that there's been 2 consecutive down days for Apple, and that's pretty rare for the FAANG stock. During the most recent run on the Nasdaq. So we'll see would it be able to come back up and tag this 389, the upper target, because there is also a declining trend line here, and maybe get back above this ascending trend line, possibly get into this trend line here for potential resistance. But if it's on the downside, continue to come down, then we're basically looking for this value area high, this composite value area high near the 350 level, and which is coincide to the 351, the lower projected target on the earning move. So those are the two levels to keep an eye on. Essentially, is the trend line here, potential resistance up at 389, and down here this this composite value area high near the 350, near that 351 projected target. And looking at Amazon, Amazon is also scheduled to report earnings on Thursday along with Apple and Google. And the market is pricing in a plus or minus $232 move, and that is equivalent to about 8%. That put the projected upper target at somewhere around $3,241, and then the lower projected target at $2,777. As you can see, also Amazon been putting in a lower low, a lower high and a lower low here. So if it is able to find support of this trend line and come back up, then we could see maybe a little bit of a resistance here at the value area high, somewhere around 3129 area here. And then maybe if we could break through this trend line, then get up to this projected upper target here, 3241. But if it's unable to find support of this trend line, then we expect it to come down and take out this lower projected target and possibly move down to this 2630 area. So you can see that there is a low volume node here. And if that doesn't hold, then we're basically looking for the composite point of control somewhere down at the 2409 level. And here looking at Netflix, Netflix reported earnings a couple of weeks ago, and there's sort of a little bit of a disappointed forward guidance as well as the new subscriber ad. So the stock got sold off, and you could also see that there is a lower high and a lower low being formed now. And it came down to this trend line, got a nice bounce on Friday. So right now we essentially see would this continue to come up and see would it be able to possibly get up to this $510 area before it finds some resistance. But if it decides to break through this trend line next week, then we essentially will first look at this 458 area, 458, 459 for potential support. And if it can hold this support, then we're essentially looking for a 421, this composite point of control for potential support here on Netflix. Then finally, Google. Google is also scheduled to report on Thursday after the market close. And right now, the market is pricing in plus or minus $86 or 6% move on the earning. And that put the projected upper target at 1595 and the lower projected target of 1443. And as you can see at the 1595, that would be a new all-time high. And 1443 is pretty close to this composite point of control near the 1439. And you can see that if it continue to come down, work itself down, it's basically we're looking for a first level of support on this trend line here, and that would be fairly close to the lower price target of 1443. So we're essentially looking for maybe finding some support here if the price continue to pull back, or if it move up, then we were essentially looking for this upper target as potential resistance at 1595. So that is the look of the FAANG stock and the projected earning move for those 4 FAANG stocks that are scheduled to report earnings next week. Be sure to give it a thumbs up if you find this video to be useful and informative. Thank you for watching and stay safe.